is to challenge the food waste paradigm, to feed a better future. And we touch a very basic problem, that's food waste. So 1/3 of all food that's produced is waste, and 50% of the CO2 footprint in the food value chain comes from food waste. So that's a big problem. And the Green Spot solution is to produce the world's first range of fermented and upcycled ingredients. We have a very simple process that's to use the first transformation industry side stream. We apply our non-GMO fermentation that will upcycle and transform the nutritional and functional potential of these side streams. We start with 3 main ingredients: apple, tomato, and spent grain, all from side stream from the first transformation. And they are nutrient dense and CO2 negative by avoidance. Just to showcase an example, this is what we present a case for Craft and Hands, where we actually use to produce the French bolognese. That's a plant-based bolognese, where we use to produce the tomato ingredient to produce the plant-based meat, where we remove all the coloring and flavoring and texturizing agent, and also in the sauce to reduce the salt. So we bring the nutrition, the functionality, and also the sustainability to everyday meal. Our market is very big. I mean, it's very big, and we have a very target segments that we are working with a few companies already, because we believe that a change needs to be made together with the companies that are already there. So we are working with them to improve that. Of course, none of them would be possible if I have an amazing, diverse, and very purpose-driven team behind the company. We have been recognized by different awards, international and national. We have been quite successful in securing private and public money, and we always, in the beginning, as I said, had to keep an early dialogue with our customers to understand their needs, and also to tailor-made our ingredients to solve the problems they have today. We have set up a industrial demonstration plant, where we are able to produce 100 tons per year. That's our initial capacity. We are fundraising now to go up to 600 tons to prove the concept and put the products in the market and start making already the difference. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, and right on time. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, Danish Ogwan from Fidena Agri Uganda Limited cannot be with us today, but if you want to check out their work, I would love to encourage you to do that. They turn organic waste into affordable fertilizers. So that's Fidena Agri Uganda Limited. Next up here on stage and live in person is Dejan Mitrovic from Moree.
So you finish your favorite biscuits, and you're left with this crappy piece of plastic. What do you do with it? Well, you throw it away. Maybe you recycle it, maybe you compost it, but to be honest, those are rubbish as well. Imagine now that you finish your biscuits, and then in the end, you return it back, and it gets washed and reused hundreds and hundreds of times. Now that's what we do. We're Moree, and we do reusable food packaging to help food brands move away from single-use packaging, which is killing our planet, and frankly, customers hate it. So my co-founder and I have worked together in the food sector as sustainability consultants in innovation for many, many years, for over 10 years. We had very interesting clients, and many of them came to us with the question of, so what can we do about our packaging? How can we make our packaging more sustainable? Should we do compostable or recyclable? And we said, no, you've got to do reusable. But there was no solution on the market. And that's what prompted us to start Moree. So how does Moree work? It's a B2B solution for food brands, and we offer reusable packaging as a service. It consists of 3 key elements. First of all, the packaging itself. It's very durable, it's customizable by the brands, and frankly, it's quite beautiful. Second of all, we have a tech solution. So every packaging has a smart label, which is connected to our software platform, where we track the packaging where it is in the cycle, and we get data about how many times it's been used, how much plastic it has saved, how much carbon it has saved, and we can share that data both with the brands and their customers. And then customers have an app for returns, which give them points and discounts, motivating them to return the packaging to us. And third of all, the returns and infrastructure. It's a very simple solution. Because our packaging is flat pack, as you can see on the photo, it can be put in an envelope with a prepaid label and sent back to us. And we're also developing a network of reuse bins for the future so that customers can drop it off on their go. So to date, we've raised money from 3 angel investors. We've had grant funding. We've built an MVP of both the packaging and the SaaS platform, tested it with brands and their clients, their customers, and the feedback was amazing. We've got amazing partners on the return logistics, the smart labels, and the washing. And we now have 8 letters of intent from different brands who want to work with us and are waiting for us to start production. This equates to about $250,000 in annual revenue pipeline. And we're starting a big pilot with the Modern Milkman, which is the UK's leading zero-waste retailer. We're now raising $600,000 to produce the first batch of packaging, build the customer rewards app, and launch with those first brands. So come on, let's create a world with more reuse, less waste, and more delicious biscuits. Thank you very much.
Somebody's practiced the 3 minutes, because that was right on point. Thank you so much. Wonderful. And I'd love to try it out myself personally. Okay, next up is Sheldon Cariff from BioAgro Science for Life. And what that is all about, you're going to tell us. Welcome.
Yep, my goal is to transform agriculture throughout the world and do it rapidly. I have a very scalable solution, and I look at agriculture very different from most people. We have to think about it in terms of uniting the geosphere with all nature, which makes it organic. So it's net zero. We use no fertilizer. It's nutritional, and we can maximize the density of nutrition in the food by 2 times more than what we're getting today. We can lower the cost by 30 to 50% for whatever crop. We use 30 to 50% less water for irrigation. And of course, it's agroecological. So today, what we do everywhere in the world, whether it's agroecological, organic, or conventional, to a great degree, it's artificial. We essentially are feeding the plant and not building the plant in a natural process that's been done for the last 400 million years. And so we do that with using fertilizers of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, etc. Essentially just putting macroelements into the plant. And it's causing a tremendous amount of malnutrition and disease in all of us, because we're not getting the micronutrients that our body needs for all the different systems in the body. We use 75% of fresh water, which is actually 2 times more than we need to, when the plant is able to derive its water necessity from the soil using microorganisms. And of course, we're losing species left and right. Higher cost, of course, because we have to pay the chemical companies and all the other companies to provide single point macro elements for every aspect of the plant's life, which is absurd. So what I've done is I started by thinking about nutrition and thinking about the health of the planet, and I came up with a solution of 38 different microorganisms that are able to fix nitrogen, make potassium, phosphorus available, strengthen the metabolic system, secondary metabolic system for the plant's defense system. And essentially what it boils down to is a lower cost, better process, and scalable. That's the thing I want to talk about a little bit later on, the scalability. We applied for a patent in Ecuador. I'm from Ecuador. I was born in Germany, but I live in the United States and now live in Ecuador, and that's how I got to agriculture. So we have patented it, and we've tested it. We published it on academia.edu, scientific analysis of our work.
2 or 3 more sentences. We're at the end of the 3 minutes, I'm afraid.
Jesus. Okay, well then, here's the point. That's it. I want to launch this product in South America and make South America 100% transformative in the next 4 years, because we only have 10 years to do this before global warming. And we could do that with this technology. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Now, firework of ideas and innovations. We are actually coming to the last pitch for this session before Q&A. And the last person to come up on stage is Felipe Birker of Climate Farmers. There you go.
All right. At the beginning of this, I would ask you all to please close your eyes and listen to a sound which should be playing right now. So the sound that you should be listening to right now is a recording from one of our regenerative farms. And this is the sound of biodiversity. It is the sound that you would be listening to if you would be visiting a farm that's operating regeneratively. Now I'm curious, how many of you have been on a farm in the last year? Put your hands up. That's surprisingly few. This amount? Okay. And how many of you have heard this sound on that farm? Okay, a little less. If you heard this sound, then that probably means that you have been on a regenerative farm. Because if you would have been on a conventional farm, you would have heard this. It's the sound of silence. Here we have a few people in the background. Usually it works a bit better here. And essentially, this is exactly the reason why me and my co-founder Ivo started Climate Farmers in 2019. We both grew up in an agricultural context, and we were sitting on the hottest day ever measured in Berlin, and we both were saying, if we don't work on climate change, then what are we doing with our lives? And we both started looking into how is agriculture, this thing that provides all of us with food, with 24% of all greenhouse gas emissions, one of the major contributors to climate change. So we found regenerative agriculture. And we were amazed that there's papers from the 80s and 90s already talking about carbon sequestration, biodiversity increase, soil water storage increase, but it's not happening. Nobody's doing it, nobody was talking about it then, and we couldn't find a lot of farmers. So we looked, and in total we found 60 farmers in the Western European Union that were practicing regenerative agriculture. And so we visited them, and we went on a one-year pilgrimage, and we stayed with these farmers, we worked with these farmers, and we asked them, why do you think this is not scaling? How did you get into this? And what can we do to help you? And these farmers told us 3 very interesting things. This was in 9 different countries, and the answers were almost always the same. First issue, it's not sexy to be a farmer. Young people don't want to go into farming, and for that reason, the average age of farmers in the European Union is 58 years old. And people 5 years before retirement are not very likely to change their ways. So we need to make farming sexy again. And this is why we started storytelling, and why we built profiles of farmers, and why we started lobbying for regenerative agriculture, and why we believe regenerative farmers are the heroes of our times. The second issue is access to knowledge. There's almost no way of learning about regenerative agriculture. So we started building the biggest farmer-to-farmer learning community, where farmers can learn from each other how to apply regenerative practices. The third issue, access to finance. If you transition towards regenerative agriculture, you will have crop loss for the first 2 to 3 years. So we need to cover that finances. And so we applied to the Google Impact Challenge on Climate with the idea to Europe's first methodology to generate carbon credits for European farmers. Amazingly, we won. We got 650,000 euros from Google, and we built Europe's first methodology for carbon credits. It took us 1.5 years. We got it verified last year. We made the first 300,000 with carbon credits in Q1 this year, and now we're looking for funding to scale this to help farmers all around Europe.
Wonderful. That's quite some research. Thank you very much, and it shows. You can actually stay with us, Felipe, on stage, and I would like to ask the other changemakers who have just pitched to come back and rejoin me for another round of Q&A. Over to you, the jury. Ask away any questions that you might have. The microphones are in front of you.
I actually have a question for you, Felipe. Imagine a journalist from The Guardian comes to the field and take a sample from the field, the soil, and actually realize that there is not as much carbon saved. How do you prevent that? How do you make sure it's not happening?
It's a great question that you're asking this. So last year we actually, I didn't have time to talk about this, but we also won a European Horizon grant together with University of Wageningen. So we're actually taking soil samples on the first 500 farms that we're working with, paid by the European Union, analyzed by Wageningen, in order to double check on the model that we are working with, so that we can guarantee that something like this doesn't happen.
More questions? Yeah?
Really, really amazing and so inspiring. Thank you all. I was wondering, Felipe, what's your current business model and how does that work with the carbon credits?
Yeah. So we're selling on the voluntary carbon market. And last year we transitioned our first pioneer farmers. We sold the carbon credits from them already in Q1 this year. So we made 300,000 with the sale of these carbon credits. We're currently on the way to onboard 200,000 hectares. We're selling them for 50 euros a ton. So next year we're estimating to be somewhere between 5 and 10 million revenue from this. And with the hype of regenerative agriculture, we also have food corporates starting to approach us to help them with supply chain transition. So we have the first supply chain transition deal confirmed with crowd farming, which is a farmer to consumer, basically delivery service over 100,000 euros. And we're in conversations with several other food corporates. Unfortunately, they're relatively slow, but we expect to be closing these also at some point this year.
Please.
Yeah, same question than your comrades. What is your purpose?
Okay, quick fire answers from each of you.
So as I said, the mission of the company is to challenge the food waste paradigm to feed a better future. So really to use the side stream that today is a problem as the potential solution for a better nutrition and also less impacting the food value chain.
Scaling regenerative agriculture in Europe.
To say hasta la vista to all the plastic waste that we're generating, the hundreds and billions of pieces that are wasted every day, to make that part of history.
To change the world in the next 4 or 5 years, because that's all the time that we have.
I can ask the same question I asked previously. What's the, in one sentence, 30 seconds, what's the biggest challenge that you're all facing?
Scalability.
Getting this out fast, because we need to act fast and we need to change customers' behaviors and onboard brands.
Very simple, funding. We have more farmers that want to work with us and we can take through the pipeline. So we need to hire people, and for that we need to get more funding.
I think is the first customer, and then things will go from there. The first one, the brave one.
I'll actually jump in with another quick question to all four of you. Let's make it very practical. Have you raised money already? If so, how much? And what are you looking for in terms of investment grants? What do you need financially speaking?
So we have raised already 8 million around public and private. We are looking for our Series A, where we already secured 70% of the round, but we are looking for our lead investors of around 2 million, but we will need in total 4.5 million.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, as mentioned, we got the Google grant of 650,000, and we got the European Horizon grant of 750,000, and we got a 1 million convertible note last summer from Rockstart, which is an impact VC. And now we're looking into raising 2.5 more million in order to get us into the millions from the sales of the carbon credits beginning next year.
We raised 300,000, a mix of equity and grants, and we're now raising 600,000 in a pre-seed round.
Yeah, I've raised no money at all yet. Most of it is self-funded, but we have a lot of interest in Colombia, Peru, Chile, and Mexico. And we're working with different government agencies and institutions in South America. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Over to you.
I've got a question for Felipe. How do you see in Europe regenerative agriculture? What's the figures you can feel? Do you see an acceleration?
It's a great question as well. It's a very interesting one because probably you know that in the last 2 years we've seen a hype around regenerative agriculture, and we see a very interesting discrepancy between corporates which make claims like Nestle having 50% region ag produce until 2030, Kraft Heinz, Unilever, they all make these claims. The farmers don't exist. When we started, as I said, we found 60 and we really looked hard. I think there maybe was 1,000. Now there's a lot of startups popping up in this space, but I think there's maybe between 10 and 50,000 farmers. We have 10.5 million farmers in the European Union. So we're still talking about 0.01%. And the issue that we're having is that farmers still have the risk of this transition and that we have the delay of the financing that's coming in. So we need to unlock financing and then we can scale it massively. And I'm very curious about the corporate claims because they will never be able to achieve them. So I think there's a lot of greenwashing issue that we're having here.
And how is your plan to make farming sexy again?
Well, if you want, you can follow us on social media. We're doing a lot of storytelling of our farmers. We're doing a lot of training of bringing people onto the farms, showing them regenerative agriculture in practice. We were working on a movie, and then Kiss the Ground came out. I don't know if you haven't seen it. It's an incredible movie. They got Woody Harrelson as the narrator. We could never have done it better. So we're also working with Kiss the Ground together on Kiss the Ground 2. So there's a lot of movies coming out. This is on Netflix. There will be another one coming out on Disney right now with one of the farmers that we're working with. So it's visual storytelling and bringing people back to the farms, and then the farms to the storytelling themselves.
Felipe?
There are 500 million shareholder farmers in the world. There are another 100 million in doing mid-level and high plantation practices. So if we don't find a way to scale a technology to penetrate the 500 million, we're not going to do anything about nitrogen gases in the atmosphere and carbon. My focus is exclusively on taking technology to make it scalable. You can't do that with WhatsApp and movies. You have to do that by working directly with alliances in the field, because that's how farmers work in South America, Asia, and Africa.
Other questions or perspectives?
I have a last question following on this topic. I think it's a question for most of you. Is a lot of your models are based on some form of retail behavioral change. Now, how do you plan to achieve this change or convince your business intermediaries, so whether they are agro brands or some sort of distributors, to make the try it?
I would have to ask you to keep it to 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, very briefly. So for us, it's a matter of getting 3 stakeholders on board. The governments to pressure top down. The customers are already willing to change, and the brands need to change because of other factors. So they need to work together.
For us, it's also easy. It's alliances. So people still buy in supermarkets. So we just launched 2 days ago in London the Big Food Redesign together with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, convincing supermarkets to clear shelf space in October 2024 for regenerative agriculture products. And I think at that point we will see the push into the mainstream.
For us, is for them to taste the products we are producing. I think it starts from there. Consumers are pushing for that, so companies will have to adapt eventually. So we are there to make this happen.
From the belly to the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, I'm working with agricultural communities, agricultural organizations, and ministries, environment ministries of agriculture, Ministry of Salute, Health in Chile, Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia, and Mexico.
Wonderful. All right. Big round of applause, please, for our wonderful change makers today on stage. Thank you so much for the work that you do, and all the best. For the sake of all of us, I wish you only the best and much success.